Welcome to another episode of Dynamic Diecasters, where this week we're going to continue our build the legendary KITT car from the series Knight Rider, with this being stages 3 through 6. So when we come back from our newest intro for this particular build, we'll go ahead and get started on stage 3.
Shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist.
Welcome back. Like I said before the break, we'll be working on stage 3 through 6 of the KITT car this week. I'm not sure exactly. It looks like we'll be working on a wheel. So if you've seen my other builds, like the Ecto-1 and the DeLorean builds at this point, it's kind of following that somewhat. In that for some reason they send a wheel or wheels early on, because I guess we're working on the chassis, but in this one it looks like it's a wheel, and then it looks like parts of the dash, and then it looks like we start working on the chassis. But we'll go ahead and get started on stage 3, which I believe is one of the wheels. So I'll get to the page of the magazine that talks about that. But yeah, so in this issue we'll join the rim, tire, brake parts, and knuckle to form the first wheel on the model. So with that, I'll go ahead and open the box. And this is what I was referring to last time. It seems like the first couple are in boxes. You'll see as we progress through the episode. The first couple of stages are in boxes. The last two are actually in bags. So, like happened with the previous builds, it was kind of the same way. We started off with boxes and then they moved to bags. So, not sure why that is, but once I open this box, we'll go through the parts of the stage and then we'll get to building. So the first part we've got is the left front tire. Would have been nice actually if they had the white wall where it says Goodyear. Actually where it says Goodyear in white, but I'm not sure if I'd have to look back at the models of the KITT car to see if that was actually the case. But then, like I said, that's the left front tire. Then we've got the outside of front left rim, which that's a metal piece. Which again is just like the other vehicles. Then we've got the inner part of the front left rim. Then we've got the front left brake caliper bracket, which I believe is this part right here, which all of those are metal. This is plastic. Then we've got the left front hubcap, which is this piece, another plastic piece. We've got the brake disc front left, which is plastic as well. The difference is one has like little grooves in it. The front left two doesn't. So that's this piece right here for the brake disc. And then we've got the left front knuckle, which is this piece right here, if I can get it out of the bag. And this is another metal piece. Then we've got the brake caliper, another plastic piece. Then we've got the front left washer, which it's in its own bag right here. And then we've got a few screws. We've got AM screws, BP screws, EM screws, and FM screws. And when they're labeled M versus P, that means they're either going into metal or plastic. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on this stage of the build, and when we come back, I'll show you what we did. See you in a few. And that's it for stage 3. That actually took me a little bit longer than I thought it would be, or would, but there was a big issue trying to get these 2 parts, the rim parts, into the tire. I tried 2 different ways and then finally figured it out, but basically we put all the parts together, so you've got the part of the brake that we've installed on the back of the tire, and then the rim, obviously, and then the hubcap. I believe there's a mod for the hubcaps that I might end up doing in a later episode. Just like, if you guys recall, I've done on the Ghostbuster car at this point. I've done a few mods on it. I'll plan on doing some for the DeLorean build and the Enterprise build as well, and then obviously this one. I know there's hubcap mods. I think there's one's related to the carpet on the inside of the car, just like the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 had. But that's pretty much all we did on stage 3, as we put together the left wheel. So I'll put that to the side. We'll move on to stage 4, which I believe is part of the dashboard stuff, based on what I see in the box, but we'll go through it. So stage 4 will attach various instrument panels and screens to the dashboard and mount the steering wheel buttons. So that's actually, I don't think we did this early with the Ghostbusters car. I haven't gotten too far into the DeLorean build to know whether or not we deal with dashboard stuff early. I think all I've got is the chassis of the DeLorean at this point, and I think the left front fender and the back of the vehicle. I don't think I've got any other, because I'm not very far into the DeLorean build. It's probably the one build that I'm, well, besides this one and the Titanic, it's one of the builds I'm like not the furthest along in. The Ghostbusters car, the Enterprise and the X-Wing are all about the same as far as completion. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and go through the parts. The first part is the dashboard, and it's plastic. So, but this is, as you can see, it's only the top part of the dashboard. The bottom part's not even in this part yet. So that's that part. Then we've got the dashboard left panel, and all these so far are plastic, which I believe the Ecto one was the same way. I think the internal parts, for the most part, were all plastic. Then we've got the lower right dashboard housing, which I think is this one. Then we've got I believe this might be, it's either the monitor screen housing or this might be the monitor screen housing. It's kind of hard to tell with the pictures. I think this is the monitor screen housing though. And then this is the right instrument housing. And then this is the left instrument housing. This one's a little bit easier because it's shaped differently. Then we've got the KITT voice box, which I think is this little one right here. It's hard to, like I said, with these, there's a lot of little parts, so it's kind of hard to tell. And then we've got the startup panel bracket. I imagine there's going to be a lot of screws because there's a lot of holes on these. Then we've got the lower right instrument panel, which is this piece right here. We've got the monitor screens, which are these right here. We've got the right instrument panel, which is going to be this piece right here. Then we've got the left instrument panel, which aligns with the shape of that other piece that I showed a minute ago. Then we've got the front panel of the KITT voice box, which I believe it's this piece right here. The startup panel, which which is this piece right here. The lower right button panel. There's a ton of parts in here, which I think is this piece right here. The lower right panel housing. Based on the shape, it's got to be that piece right there. The steering column, which this might be the only metal piece because that's how the Ecto one was. The steering wheel was the metal piece, and that's how this one is too. That's metal, the steering column. Then we've got the steering wheel, which if you guys seen Knight Rider, it's a funky steering wheel, and actually that's metal too, which the Ecto one, it was not. It's plastic. Then we've got the Knight Foundation emblem. I think it's this piece right here. Even though it looks like it's just oh no, there's an emblem on it. Very tiny, but it's, can't even probably pick it up on the camera, but it's this little red piece right here. Then we've got the steering wheel keypad support, and then the bracket. So that's this piece, and then the bracket. Then we've got the left steering wheel keypad and the right steering wheel keypad. So it's going to be interesting to know which one is which, because they kind of look the same. Maybe that's the point, but I wonder if they'll be in the instructions which one goes where. It might fit a certain way in the bracket. That's probably the way they did it. And then the last parts are just screws. So we've got AP screws, BP screws, and GM screws. A ton of BP screws. That's the one thing about this. It doesn't tell me how many. It just says the size of them. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on this. And when we get done with stage 4, I'll show you what we did. See you in probably about a minute, depending. I mean, the last one took me about 20 minutes, and I didn't expect it to take that long. But this one, I would assume, might take me a little bit longer than that. So we'll see you in a few. And that was it for stage 4. Like, I thought that would take me a bit longer. It didn't take me that much longer. It only took me 27 minutes. But basically, if you remember, we started out with a bunch of screens and dashboard parts, but we've attached most of them. So you'll see this is what it looks like now. You've got the panel up here that we installed. Then the panel, the voice box here. Then we installed all these screens in the dash. And basically connected them down here. There's 3, I'll put this to the side, but the steering column we're not doing anything with, the steering wheel we're not doing anything with yet. The only other thing, and then the emblem where it says put them to the side as well as these GM screws. So I'll put these to the side for now. The only other piece that we did was we built up the keypad that goes alongside the steering wheel. So that's what this looks like currently. We put this piece together. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to stage number 5. There's electrical panels in this one, so I'll read through and we'll go through the parts. But looks like we'll join the steering wheel to the steering column in this one, and then we'll fit the printed circuit board into the scanner and connect it to the battery compartment to test it. So that'll be an interesting part to this section. Hopefully I have batteries. I think I do. I'll have to look though, so we'll be able to test it. But first things first, we'll go through the parts. It's a very big, heavy metal piece in here. Let's see, here's where I was talking about. This is stage 5, and now we have bags. This stage, probably, based on what I'm looking at, probably will not take all that long though. There's only a few pieces in here. So, first part is we've got the, and I'll take it out of here. We've got the scanner light printed circuit board, or a PCB. You've seen those in all of our other builds, so this is a PCB. Then we've got the scanner inner housing right here. So the scanner, I think, is the, if I remember right, is the red light that goes back and forth in the front of the car. And then we've got the battery compartment with the switch on it. And then we've got the front right chassis. So this is what I was talking about before. That most of these builds, they start out, well, obviously you have to build the chassis before you do anything else, but it's just funny how they break these up. But this is the front right chassis, and then we've got AP screws and BP screws. Like I said, not a lot of parts. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started on this stage, and I'll show you what we do when we get back. See you in probably about 30 seconds. And that's it for stage 5. Yeah, I didn't think that would take very long. Literally all we did was attach the steering wheel to the steering column. That was the very first thing we did. Then the next thing we did was we installed the PCB board to the scanner. And then I hooked up the battery compartment. Unfortunately, at this point, I don't have any AAA batteries, so I'm going to have to buy more to test this. So I'll do that in the next episode before we do anything else, just to show you guys what it looks like. Unfortunately, I have batteries, I'm just not sure where they're at. But with that, and then we didn't do anything with the keypad support that we assembled in the last stage, and then the front right chassis that we got in this stage, we didn't do anything with either. It says, keep them in a safe place. So with that, we'll move on to the 6th and final stage of this episode. There's a few parts in this, so we'll see how long it actually takes, but basically what we'll be doing in this issue is we'll be attaching the suspension upper control arm bracket to the front axle cross member and attaching the left side control arm to the cross member. Also, we'll fix the tensioner arm bracket on the right front. So a lot more related to the wheels, so we'll see what it actually looks like when we finish it. But with that, I'll move on to the parts. There's not a lot of parts, so we get it, we'll see how long it actually takes, and what parts we actually deal with in this stage. So I'll go through the parts and then we'll conclude the episode. That's funny. Yeah, these little compartments, they drive me nuts. I don't know why. I don't know why they feel it's easier. You can tell the same manufacturer must or the same distributor or whatever must do these, because every single model, when they do these bags, they break them up separately just like this. And I don't know the rationale. Maybe it's for safety for the parts, to make sure they don't get banged up. I'm not sure, but it sure makes it a pain to open when they seal each little section in there. So with that, we'll move on. We'll show the parts. So the first part is the front axle cross member, if I can get it out of here. And like I had said, the chassis in every vehicle seems to always be metal. So that's where the majority of the metal in the vehicles are. That and the engines normally. So that's the front axle cross member. And then you've got the left and control brackets 1 through 4, each of them being left and rights. Looks like it's, and this is where it's hard to tell with the pictures. It looks like it's gonna be these two and these two. So I think they're sideways in these pictures. Let's see, there's a L and an R. So on these, so there's 2 lefts and 2 rights. So these are the brackets, the control arm brackets left, and then these are the control brackets right. Then we've got the tension arm bracket right here. And all these parts are actually metal so far. And then lastly, we've got the right upper suspension control arm. They gave us a screwdriver, so now I've got another screwdriver to use. That's something 25, I don't know, it looks like there's a number or S2, something like that on it. So now I have another screwdriver. This might come in handy, it's a little bit longer. That last, you saw in the time lapse, that last one was a little difficult with the steering column because the screwdriver I'm using was smaller. But then lastly, we've got 4 sets of screws. We've got DM screws, we've got EM screws, we've got HM screws, and then we've got IM screws, which these are one of the longer ones I've seen in any of the builds that I've done, the IM screws. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll show you what we did when we finished, and then we'll go ahead and conclude this episode. So see you in about 30 to 45 seconds. Well, that was it for stage 6. So, as you can see, we had the piece from stage 6, and we had the 4 control brackets that we had to install, and then the suspension arm that we installed here. So that's primarily what we did in this stage. The only other thing that we did was the tension bracket we installed on the front right chassis right here. So it was a pretty quick stage. Actually, it was a pretty quick build day today. It was about an hour and 10 minutes total. So to recap, in stage 3, we built the left front tire. We put the tire together, the front, the rim, the brake, and then the hubcap we installed on the tire. In stage 4, we built up the dashboard and the various screens on the dashboard, and the part of the steering wheel column to the keypads in reference to that. In stage 5, we built up we installed the scanner PCB board for the lighting. We'll test it at a later time in the next episode, more than likely, before we start doing anything else. And then the only other thing we did in stage 5 was we put together the steering wheel and the steering column. And then lastly, what I showed you was what we did in stage 6. So with that, the next dynamic Diecaster episode will be a continuation of the Titanic build. I believe that'll be stages 5 through 8. I believe, because I think I did stages 1 through 4 in the first episode. And then after that, it'll be a new build, our solar system orrery build for dynamic Diecasters, and then we'll continue the Star Wars X-Wing build after that. So at some point we're going to be starting up the Optimus Prime build. And if nobody's heard, the Eagle Moss builds all the ones that I've been doing on the channel, the Ghostbusters Ecto one, the Back to the Future DeLorean, and the Star Trek the Next Generation Enterprise build, they were all picked up by a distributor. Fan Home is now going to be distributing them. The first one they'll be releasing back out will be the DeLorean build. That'll start, I believe they've said, the end of April. So that'll be coming back on the channel. So I kind of timed it pretty good in terms of build times to not really be behind on anything. So it'll be good. We'll be picking those back up in the builds, and we'll be doing these in addition. But we'll be doing the Optimus Prime build as well. And then they just announced, Fan Home did, that the Infinity Gauntlet will be added. So that'll probably be another one that I will be doing. My kids want me to do that one. So that'll be another one. So we'll be up to like 8 or 9 builds at some point. But obviously we'll complete some of them. The Star Wars X-Wing build, I've got all the boxes. So we'll be finishing that one up not too far from now. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Dynamic Diecasters. If you guys haven't already subscribed to our channel, we're close to 2,600 subscribers now. So the more we get, obviously, the better. It shows us that people are enjoying the content. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. But like I said, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe and like the videos if you like them. And then hit that bell so you get notified when new videos come out. Typically, we release on every Friday. But check out our website as well, heartofgeek.com. That has all of our YouTube videos on it, all of our podcasts that we do. We currently are working on 5 different podcasts. We're reviewing games on the channel. There's merch out there. There's all types of stuff. So for all of us at the Heart of Geek, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Dynamic Diecasters, and we'll see you in the next episode. Have a good night.